My name is Juan Francisco Villa, playing Tennessee Williams.
Daniel K. Isaac, William Inge.
The first act starts with it's 10 November 1944 in St. Louis, and William Inge is a critic for the St. Louis Star Times, and has contacted Tennessee Williams, who he's heard about because he's a homegrown playwright, and is having a play getting produced in Chicago. So he contacts Tennessee Williams to say, I want to write an article about you. And so I, as Tennessee Williams, do meet up with him, and then a lot happens in the first act. Then the second act takes place in Chicago, where William Inge is in town and has seen the Glass Menagerie. That's the play that's going on, which is called The Gentleman Caller at that point. In Act 1 it's called The Gentleman Caller. In Act 2 it's called The Glass Menagerie. And then we engage in the second act to talk about the show, and also about what happened in Act 1.
Well, a lot of this play deals with two struggling writers, or writers who haven't been as successful as we know them to be today. And so, I mean, I don't know how successful you count yourself as a writer, Juan, but maybe without the dark parts of our characters, there is some foreshadowing, or certainly empathy that we feel with these characters, and their struggle is a struggle we know today as we write and live and breathe and try to create art in our current lovely society.
They're icons, obviously, as how we know them today in 2018, but in 1944 they're just 30-year-olds who are artists, who are looking to do what they love to do without any shame, and take responsibility for or acceptance of who they are. And anyone can relate to that any year. So I know for myself, it's just to not hide. There's a line in the play where it's like, take responsibility for your existence and show us yourself, which is usually the big thing. Inge has a great line in I think it might be the first act, I can't remember, but about the fear of what are people going to say, what are they going to think about it, and that definitely deeply resonates with me. The first play that I wrote, Empanada for a Dream, about growing up in the Lower East Side here in Manhattan, I remember having a freak out, a lot of anxiety, because it's autobiographical, and I wrote down my 3 fears, and one of them was my family's going to disown me, that people are going to hate it, and therefore I'm going to be blacklisted and no one's ever going to want to hire me. And the other one's that my friends are going to laugh at me and then not want to be my friends. And I thought about it, and I said, if those 3 things happen, is it still important that you tell this story? And I just was like, yeah, I have to. There's just no way around it. And just to claim those fears and just explore them out loud was helpful. And I forget about that moment, but in this play, the way these two talk, because they're on opposite ends, it's brought all that stuff up again.
Juan.
No, come on. No, I want to hear you talk about this.
Why?
Because same reason you want to hear me talk about it.
I think because it's a 2-person play, you only have your partner. We only have each other on stage, and from day one, we know we're all that we have, and so you're clinging on for dear life to one another, and then the words sort of do the rest for you. So even if this was an antagonistic, non-sexual relationship, I think it would demand chemistry out of the two of us. And, I know a lot about Juan.
Yes, he does.
Just a lot about him. And I think that deepens the intimacy and everything else. So
yeah, it's after the first read through, I felt very, very comfortable with Daniel, and then Tony set up a good supportive room, and then the play that Philip wrote. You can play have the characters be antagonistic, but that's not gonna just who wants to sit through that. And this play is not about that. Mm-hmm. It's definitely about wanting to love and be loved, and there being a void, self-love, the question of self-love. And there was chemistry in the beginning with Daniel, and then I know for myself, because this is how I am in my life anyway, it's just still a matter of keeping myself open and available for someone to affect me. Because life is hard, and New York City is hard, theater is hard, and things can go up. But to keep it open and available for someone to affect you, that still can take work. Naturally, like, I'm very comfortable with Daniel, but in the world of the play, Tennessee is an extreme version of myself, and so I have to be careful of being so certain of myself that I don't need someone, when that's not true. The beautiful thing about this play is that these two people, there is a connection there and a deep need for some reason from each other, and that's what you discover in the play.
I think a story that Philip told us early on in rehearsals was that when Inge committed suicide, finally, his girlfriend at the time called Tennessee Williams to ask what to get rid of before the authorities came. And I thought that level of intimacy, whatever that connection they had, even though by this point they weren't speaking to each other as often or seeing each other, whatever that was what I wanted to make sure we could bring some sliver of to life in this play. And so, do you have a happier anecdote? That's what I'm carrying with myself
you can see that where we gravitate towards. I mean, as much as we have a good time, again, just with what I was talking about with the love and the deepness and the void and that yearning for connection. If we cannot find that as artists, then people are gonna walk away being like, oh, okay, that was fun, and that's not. I know what draws me to this, and I don't think that's why their work was as vital as it was. So I think my thing will be very similar in tone.
No, I have a funny one, but no, you do one.
Well, I'll start with the funny one, which is Philip said Tennessee is more like a baboon than a panther, and it's interesting because he has that accent and that put on drawl, southern drawl that was from his mother, and so you can get into a tone or a feel, but he was kind of ogre-like. He was a swimmer, very physically athletic, was a consistent swimmer daily, and so there is that, and so therefore that was that I'm clumsy in a lot of ways. As I was sharing before this interview, injuries that I've had in my life, but Philip also said he's the type of guy that Tennessee that would have holes in his socks. And that resonated with me as
Juan has holes.
I do. I put them in the dryer too much, and I have
they're mostly mismatched.
Angry feet, and I mismatched. Not today. These are good. I'm wearing my new ones. I decided if I'm going to share this, I have to be able to say I bought new socks, guys. Don't worry, I'm all right.
It's a spoiler, but Juan bought new socks during the rehearsal process for this because of what happens in the play.
Yes, because there is a beautiful moment in the play.
Don't ruin it.
That is fun. People ask me about it afterwards. I'm updating my resume with special skills. So if you want to find out what that is, then you got to come check it out. But also with Tennessee, I've always been drawn to him and his work. I was reading this Follies of God is by James Grissom, and it's conversations with Tennessee, tail end of Tennessee's life, where he wanted to know if he actually mattered, because he had a good 30 years where he didn't have any hits. So you can imagine someone as empathetic and narcissistic as Tennessee Williams could have a hard time emotionally with that. And he talked about how with William Inge, when they had time alone, that he was very aware of how William Inge walked around as if he's waiting for permission, as if because of how overbearing his mother was for both of them, but they were both reacted to their mothers differently. Inge sort of hid, and Tennessee was just like, I'm just gonna live. And I thought he said in a very beautiful way of just, he had a lot of empathy for that, as opposed to, I'm sure he also teased him about it, but I thought that was very telling, where he noticed that, and he didn't throw it in Inge's face.
I'll end on a funnier one.
Okay, even better.
In Tennessee Williams's journals, he talks about William Inge and Tennessee would take turns being each other's lookout when they cruised, so they would protect each other from the cops. I like that.
That is a good one. What do you mean? I don't know. That's funny. That's kind of like beautiful.
Yeah, but it's a lot lighter than
Yes, it is. It
than
is
my suicide.
than the first one.
Right.
Yes.
Philip has always said he's written 2 historically white characters and, real life people, but that doesn't mean he's interested in 2 cis white men playing them. And so in Chicago, in the world premiere, there's a Mexican American and a white actor. And here for us to be doing it is a true privilege, we understand, because the rest of the industry doesn't always think this open-mindedly, creatively, willingly. And so we're very blessed and don't take it lightly that we get to do this and have this opportunity. Phillips also said if 2 non-cis men were to play this, that'd be fine too. It's just about, can they play the characters? Are they the right energy? And so...
Yeah, and Phillips had a track record of it. Like since I've known him for over a decade, and he's always pushed for this. It's not a new thing. It's not in vogue now for him to do it. And he's jumping on the bandwagon or feels the pressure. He just firmly believes in it. He has said from the beginning, because I brought this up. This is one of the first things I brought up when the offer came out, and he said I want the 2 actors to look like if these artists were here today. And I thought that really that landed, and I felt more empowered with that. But if he would have asked me to audition, or if I would have seen an audition notice for this, I don't know if I would have leaped at it because of the mindset of, I don't know if they're gonna really look at me or I'll be open to it, and I just allowed that to happen. So
internalized depression.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this has been an eye-opening experience, and it's why I hope that we continue to have the turnout that we've had, because people should see it. I mean, you forget about it after a while. I've heard that from countless people, but I feel a deep gratitude for it, and I have a better understanding for his life, and I hope more opportunities like this continue to present themselves.
I want to play Tom in Glass Menagerie. I'm telling that to the world. That's always been a dream role.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one.
Right?
Yeah. I remember when I was a little younger, I was approached about Stanley Kowalski, and I didn't accept it. I just didn't accept it at the time, and I've
self-sabotage.
No, it's true. It's true.
Let this play speak to you.
I mean, even before we get into like what the industry says, also it's my own mentality that does that. I have to constantly work.
You are your own worst enemy.
I am. Yes, as Daniel has learned throughout the process.
So much.
But Stanley Kowalski is one. I mean, he's so much of a brute, and that's one that pops out to me. In Inge's work, I mean, there's in Picnic. You know, I think as I get older, just the friend, the guy who marries the teacher.
The teacher?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. There's something about, and that's something, that character I immensely relate to a lot, where it's just like wanting to make choices in life, but letting other people make decisions for you. Hello. So that's the other one, because they're so different, both of them. Both react very differently to their insecurity.
I've always wanted to play Brick. I know, like everyone thinks the body type has to be this huge guy, but no, I really like that character. Inge, when I'm older, there's a guy in Bus Stop. Have you read Bus Stop?
Is it the
guitar guy?
Yeah.
I just have such heart for him.
Yeah.
Because I think the key to that character is that he's in love with his friend.
Yes.
But he's never gonna tell him, and he never talks about it.
No.
And Inge's character, those are the ones I'm mostly drawn to.
Yeah.
And usually in Inge's plays, they're women who are left alone or, older or lonely, that I think he puts himself into. But that one, it's clearly the guy who's unrequited in his love. Yeah,
Which,
right.
on display. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll do some laugh out loud comedies.
Yeah.
To balance.
No, this is fun. This play is
really.
I mean, there are so many laughs in
Please
this play.
come. There is comedy, we promise.
There is. There's a the full roller coaster
the
ride.
spectrum is
Yes.
all there. We'll take you out to drinks after. Yeah.